皆さんこんにちは and welcome to Shogo's podcast. So in this second video, I thought I can talk again about the 5 misunderstandings about Japanese culture. I actually made a video about this in my main channel, probably like in my second or first month I started the channel. Yes, and I really hoped that it'll have more views, but it didn't, yes. So I kind of mashed up all of the questions I used to get when I was working in the tourism industry in Kyoto for about 4 years. And I found out that a lot of people had quite a lot of misunderstandings due to some people probably spreading some misunderstandings to the people. So I kind of mashed up the 5 things and explained it. So I thought I could do that again in this podcast channel and explain to you the 5 things that many people misunderstand. And I really hope that you can know about this before coming to Japan. I really hope the coronavirus situation will get better soon. All right, so let's get started. So number 1, Japanese people hate tattoos. So a lot of people ask me, well, even now when I'm running this channel, especially when I talked about the onsen, the hot spring video, a lot of people told me Japanese people don't like tattoos, right? And they like dislike it, right? And kind of thing. But I really wanted to explain that Japanese people don't like hate tattoos in general or anything. So again, as you probably know, in Japan, if you have tattoos, it might mean actually, that you're related to the gang, the Yakuza, right? But recently, having tattoos is becoming more and more common among young people in Japan, and also especially having tattoos, and if you're from a different country, Japanese people understand that you're definitely not like a bad person or anything, and that's completely different culture. Yes, so if you, for example, are from a different country, not from Japan, and you have tattoos, and Japanese people see your tattoos, they might be a little bit surprised to see them. We're not really used to seeing tattoos, so they might be looking at you like, for example, when you're riding a train and such, but it doesn't mean they don't like it or anything, and you don't have to be. Some people told me, like, should I hide it when I'm in Japan and such? But no, you don't have to hide it. There's nothing to be embarrassed about or nothing to worry about. Some people who are traveling in Japan, if you're traveling in Japan, you would have big suitcases and backpacks, right? And when you ride these escalators, you tend to stop the people who are trying to walk up the escalators. So the reason why they keep the left side or right side opened, standing on either side, is to let the people who want to walk or run up the escalator go through that space, right? But actually, if you take a look at the rules that are written on every escalator in Japan, they tell you that you should not walk, nor of course not run on these escalators for safety, and that you should hold the handle on the side, and that you should stand on the center. Yes, but basically no one follows these rules. But this is actually the best way that you should do it. Of course, if you can avoid it, it is, I guess, best, you don't want to be, getting in trouble with anyone, right? So it is best if you have like small luggage, maybe standing on either side would be best. But if you can't, like you have big luggage and if you can't avoid it, there's nothing that you have to worry about. There might be some people that would be like angry at you. Like for example, when I have my daughter, my 2-year-old daughter, she wants to ride the escalator herself. Now she can walk and run. So when I do that, I would have to hold her hand and we'll use up all the space at the left and right side, right? And there might be people like, you can get out of the way kind of thing, but you don't have to be worried. Yeah, nothing to be worried about. That is the right way to ride the escalator, okay? Number 3, you must slurp noodles to show respect and appreciation. Now, this was something that I was asked a lot, quite often. A lot of people ask me about this, and the answer is no. Slurping ramen, for example, or udon, these noodles in Japan, have nothing related to expressing your appreciation to the chef and such. So it seems that someone, I guess it's a Japanese person maybe, started to say this because that's what's done in tea ceremonies. So in tea ceremonies, this is true. You do slurp the last sip of tea on purpose as a way to show appreciation to the host who made the tea for you. Now, this is for you to avoid talking as much as possible. Tea ceremonies are related to Zen philosophy. It's best that you clear your mind, and it's best you keep your communication at minimum. Yes, but that's just in tea ceremonies. The reason why you slurp ramen has a completely different reason, and that is to eat it quickly. Yes. So if you take a look at some of the articles about ramen, there are a few other opinions, but this is something that everyone says commonly. So ramen must be eaten as quickly as possible because if you leave it inside the soup for long, the noodles will get soggy and it will not taste good. So in order to eat it quickly, you slurp. That's basically the only reason why you slurp, yes. So that means, on the other hand, if you don't want to slurp, if you can't slurp, you don't have to. That's up to you, okay? So it's nothing related to showing your appreciation to the chef and such. And number 4, it's rude to tip. I think along with the slurping noodles, this is something that a lot of people told me and a lot of people were worried about it. Like, I shouldn't tip, right? But this is nothing you have to worry about either. But I do want you to know, first of all, that tipping was very common in Japan too, originally. Even today, like for example, I explained in my video when I talked about how much it costs to meet a maiko and to be entertained by them, the fee of tipping is actually included as well. So it's quite common for you to tip to the maiko and hand them extra money. So a lot of people in the comments told me, wow, I thought tipping is rude in Japan, but no, it's very common originally. Then why don't you do it today, right? It's because in order for all the tipping, the amount, and everything to be kind of unified, I guess I should say, the hotels and restaurants made these rules of service fees, which means the tipping money is already included in the amount of money you're paying to these places. So if you take a look at, for example, the receipt that you receive from hotels after staying at them, there's this thing that's written like service fee. If you go to a bar, for example, there is something called a charge fee in Japanese. I don't know if you say that in English too, but there's something called a charge fee, usually about 500 yen, or if it's expensive, maybe 2,000, 3,000 yen. But these are included in the fee already in the first place. And this is originally what the tipping was supposed to be. But they kind of unified it, so you don't have to trouble yourself to pay it every time, right? And think like, oh, how much should I hand to this place and such. So that's the reason why it gets a little bit confusing in Japan, because the customers, you are already paying the tipping fee, but if you try to tip them extra, they'd be like, oh no, you already paid, and that's the reason why they would not accept the money. And another thing in Japan, especially money that you're handing to someone to show your appreciation, shouldn't be handed in a naked state, if that makes sense. So it's best you don't hand someone naked cash. Like even if it's between friends, like someone lend you like, oh, I need 1,000 yen, for example, and someone lending you 1,000 yen. It would be best that you don't just like take it out of your wallet and hand it to him. That's not really polite. It would be best that you, for example, put it inside an envelope and such. If it goes to like a little bit more traditional things like the fee that I paid to my masters, for example, for the training, I would definitely put it inside an envelope. I would not take it out of my wallet and hand the cash to them. That'd be really, really very, very rude. So that's another thing. This is kind of a little bit different from tipping, I guess I could say, but I think this is something that you can keep in mind. In Japan, like I explained in my video, my main channel, money is thought of something that should be hidden. What you're handing to the person is your feelings of appreciation and not the money. So it's best you hide it. It kind of makes you look like you're greedy, I guess. It's simply not a very good culture in Japan. So even if you really do want to tip to someone and express your appreciation, it's best you hide it, yes. But again, you don't have to. It's already included inside the fee. All right. And lastly, Shrines and temples are the same. No, they're not. Yes. So, if you come to Japan, visiting the shrines and temples are definitely something you're going to be doing, right? And a lot of people ask me, so how are they different? Like you have the Kiyomizu Temple, like for example in Kyoto, right? The Kiyomizu Temple, but you have the Thousand Gates, and they're called a shrine. So they look basically the same, right? Old buildings and these gates and such, and traditional, you know. But a few points that you can look out for is that number one, they have different religions in the first place. So shrines, the places that are called shrines are Shintoism. So Shintoism is Japan's original religion, and also the temples, on the other hand, are Buddhism. So there are different religions, first of all. Number two, the gates are different too. The first gate that you meet at the entrance are different. There are Torii gates and there are Sammon gates. So the Torii gates are the gates of the thousand gates you see at Fushimi Inari in Kyoto. Those gates represent shrines. And the other gates, the larger gates with the second floors and such, are for the temples. And also the guardians at the gates are different. If you go to the shrine, there are these dog statues that are guarding the gates. These are called komainu, but these are for shrines. If it's a person statue, there are also guards that are guarding the gates, but these are for temples. That looks like a person. Well, it's a god actually, but shaped as a person, yes, is the temples. And also inside, once you go inside these shrines and temples, at shrines you do the clapping procedure for the praying. And in temples, you don't. You just press your hands together and bow. So these are very different too. So if you have a chance to visit these shrines and temples, you can look out for these things like the gates, like what's guarding the gates, and also the Japanese people, what kind of praying they're doing. If they're clapping their hands, that's definitely a shrine. If you don't hear any clapping sounds, that's a temple. Okay? All right, so these are the 5 things that I'd like to explain to you before you come to Japan. Let's run through this again. Number 1, Japanese people dislike tattoos. No, they don't. In general, it's only to the Japanese people who have tattoos. Many people are afraid of are only Japanese people and not in general. Number 2, you must stand on the left or right side of the escalators. No, the correct way to do it is to stand in the center and hold the handle. You don't have to worry about stopping the line behind you if you have big luggage. If you can move to the side, you could to avoid, trouble with other people, but it's not necessary. Number 3, you must slurp noodles to show respect and appreciation to the chef. No, not at all. This is meant to eat the noodles quickly, and it's nothing related to showing anything to the chef. Yes. Number 4, it is rude to tip. It's not rude to tip, it's just awkward because the tipping fee is already included in the money you're paying to the restaurants and hotels, so you're just surprising the staff there, and it's nothing rude. What's rude though, what's considered rude is handing over naked cash. So if you still want to show your appreciation to these places, or if you're interacting with Japanese people, and if you want to hand them money as a kind of gift, for example, a money gift, it's best you hide it in forms of, for example, envelopes and such. And lastly, number 5, shrines and temples are the same. No, they're not. They belong to different religions, and they have different gates, different guardians in front of the gates, and also a different way to pray. All right. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. I hope this video was interesting to listen to, and I will definitely talk to you, I guess, in my next video. Thank you so much, guys.